Hello. So thought I'd try making a Game Week 4 video. I was hoping to do one earlier than this, but I've been a little bit lost in the weeds trying to figure it all out, and I think I've got more questions than answers. So I just thought I'd try and make a video, have a little waffle, see what happens. Sometimes I think FPL is a bit like an iceberg, where you've got like this superficial bit at the top, and then there's this massive iceberg underneath, and like from a superficial point of view, I feel like I know what I'm going to do. It's like, or I've got like an obvious solution for my team. Here's the team. I've got 3 free transfers, zero point 0.5 in the bank. I've got Palmer and Saka red flagged. I've got Fulkrug. So I just do 3 transfers for them. I bring in Salah, and then the other 2, I go to like either a 7.5 forward and a 4.5 mid, or a 5.5 forward and a 6.5 mid. I've got those 2 kind of levers to play around with. I just do those transfers. That makes sense. I can bring Salah in for Burnley Everton. Wildcard 6, bring Haaland in for that. Just buys me a bit of time, bit more info, wildcard 6. Kind of feels like that's the obvious thing to do. So there's that. Wildcard 6, because I just want more information, I think, is my basic logic there. Haaland I like, but if I want Haaland now, I'd have to probably sell one of Gyökeres and Watkins, and I think I like both Gyökeres and Watkins. So that's it, really. That's so from a superficial point of view, that's I know what I'm going to do, probably. I don't know for sure. But then the iceberg of FPL is like my brain just like, there's all these complicated questions I'm trying to figure out. Like there's on the surface, or on the main question I'm trying to answer is what's the meta structure going forward? If I was to wildcard right now, what's the kind of the play? Is it 3-4-5 at the back? That's a big question. The Salah versus Haaland versus neither versus both, I'm still trying to figure out. And whether we put too much emphasis, whether we're too myopically focused on captaincy and Salah and Haaland and stuff, and whether it matters. Because, I hear people say sometimes, like, you have to have Salah for this game, you have to have Haaland for this game. And it's like, are they that influential? Are they that massive? Does it matter that much? Especially Salah, I'm feeling a little bit like not feeling the Salah vibes of last season anymore. But thoughts like that. Yeah, and then just like the structure, the price points, the bench, rotation. What's the kind of structure that I want going forward for a team? But then, yeah, DEFCONs I've been thinking about a lot. And also other things like there was a great video that Nick Trigger Talks made a couple of weeks back, I think it was a week or 2, where he talked about patience and being conservative. And is it patience or is it just indecision? And that really hit me like a ton of bricks, because it's not always indecision, but I feel like that is that for a lot, for me, often it's indecision. The reason why I don't just nail down and make a pick and make a move, because and especially for me, like it's like every aspect of FPL is this iceberg thing, where there's all these other questions underneath, and I start trying to figure out all the underlying stuff, and then I never get anywhere, and I'm kind of waiting for this kind of like perfect pick, to kind of say, yeah, that's the move, and it never happens. And the more you get into FPL, the more boxes you need ticked, because you go deeper and deeper. You're waiting for these perfect picks, and there are no perfect picks. And so, to an extent, I think that's good advice to just take the best of what you got and just make a move sometimes. And particularly in terms of wildcard, I think it will probably benefit me to just decide to go for wildcard 6 if I want, or 7 or something like that. But if I just go for 6, then the picks that I make, I can focus just on the next 2, and I can get the benefit of really targeting the next 2. And I can also benefit from hitting the wild card immediately game week 6 to get the price changes, things like that. Which is one of the reasons I'm a bit reluctant to do it now in game week 4, because I've kind of missed it now, and I've missed that indecision. I've missed the price changes, and I've also missed, if I decided to go for game week 4 in game week 1, I could have just targeted the first 3, but I kind of left it open, and so you do get as a real benefit to just being decisive sometimes, with chip strategy in general as well. So That is something I'm thinking, but it's just very hard to be decisive when there's just so much to think about. So yeah, my head's a bit of a mess, and I also find it interesting how much I contradict myself as well. When I play FPL, I feel like FPL is very linked to your own personal life sometimes. So a couple of years back when I started playing more engaged, I was properly hot on going early, catching the price changes, taking a lot of risks, playing quite aggressive, I guess. And then over the years, I've become more and more conservative. And this season, I'm like just full on Fabio Borges style now. And I'm like, I just don't care about the price changes at all. I just purely just want the info. I want to wait. And I think it's related to just the way I want to play, which is like I just want to be calm and just take my time. I don't want to be rushed. Which is, I still think going after the price changes and going a bit early and being a bit aggressive is the actual right play. It's just that me personally this season, I just feel like I just want to chill, take my time. Yeah. So there's that change that has occurred in me this season where I'm just taking my time, and I just got to go careful. I'm not too indecisive though. But I've gone full on conservative. Like my team value is like 99.4. I think Fulkrug went down again, so 99.4, I reckon, something like that. Oh, hang on, one sec. Sign me out again. Yeah, 99.4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 in Fulkrug. So, it's weird the way I contradict myself in FPL, different playing styles, but that's interesting. And then another feeling I've been having this season so far is I feel very vibey. I feel like I just want to go full vibes, full not looking at EO at all. And I think it might be slightly connected to partly because of last season. There was a period where I started going quite heavy, just following the template in EO, and I missed out on some picks where my vibes were like going for one pick and I didn't go for them. And that I almost feel like that feeling is worse if you go for the EO pick and then the one that you were going to go with the vibes didn't, they're the ones that go off. That feeling is worse than going for your vibes pick and then the EO one goes off. I don't mind that so much, but that's just me at the moment. And what was I going to say? Bugger, one sec. Keep forgetting what I'm going to say. Oh yeah, sorry. And then the other thing is this whole AI thing and models and analytics and stuff. And I just get this, I've got this kind of vague vibe that I'm kind of feeling like as models, sometimes just doing what the computer says, there's a kind of like, it's kind of boring. It's kind of like, I don't want to do that. And there's this sense of like, so the models and AI and stuff is getting, there's an inevitability about it. It's just going to get better and better. And it's like, at the moment, you see these graphs sometimes where the analytics leagues are just consistently above all the other leagues. And there's this sense that the models are just inevitable. You just kind of, if you go against the models, at the moment it feels like maybe 10% of the time you might beat the models, but 90% of the time you're just going to get wrecked because the models are just going to be superior. And I feel like that number is just going to get more and better and better and better. It's going to be 95%, 99%. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's always a human element in FPL, but I've got that kind of vibe that it's just going to get, when it gets to that point where it's just futile to go against the models, because it was like that season when Haaland first came to the league and people kept trying to bet against him and they just kept getting wrecked every single game week because he kept smashing them. When we get to that, if we get to that point where it's futile to go against the models, then is there even a game left? Because you're just doing what the computer says. Model says this, you do it. I don't know whether the Premier League does feel like it's getting quite controlled and predictable sometimes. Maybe, is it? Hopefully there's always a human element, so it will never get that much. But I think there's a part of me that wants to kind of revolt against that a little bit. Because it's like, I don't know, some kind of last human fling or something. Like I just want to be human, and so even if I go down, even if I crash and burn, at least I went down being a human and not kind of like just model all the time, which I don't know, might sound funny given that I do all these spreadsheets and stuff, but still, that's the vibe I'm feeling at the moment, a little. But as I say, I contradict myself all the time. My moods can change one season to the next, so who knows? But yeah, so I've got a bit of that going on inside me, and then I've also got another feeling inside me, which is I've always been a bit contrarian, and I think that can be a deficit more often than it's actually a benefit. And so sometimes, like, if I feel like everybody's going for a certain pick, I always have this instinct to go the other way. And I think of players like Sanchez in goals, which I'm not sure if I would have gone for him, but my vibes were on Sanchez. But because I saw lots of other people going for him, it kind of killed it for me. I was like, well, I can't go for him now because everyone else is going for him. And I couldn't find a good keeper, but the vibes were on Sanchez. But then I don't know whether I would have gone for him because he's still got Jorgensen and rotation. Maresca rotates him sometimes. So don't know, but it's that kind of idea. So basically, I'm just waffling, trying to get a sense of like why I'm feeling a bit strange at the start of this season, like trying to get a feel for the game. So yeah, you got this AI stuff coming in, and I'm feeling like I want to revolt against that a little bit. I don't want to play EO. I've got a little bit of a contrarian streak that I'm trying to kind of counteract against sometimes to a degree. There's indecisiveness. So I've got all this I'm kind of playing with in my brain. And then there's the question of the meta template, the meta structure, and what is it, and how do I figure it out? Is it 3-4-5 at the back? Is it Haaland, Salah, both, neither, whatever? The premiums, the price points, rotation. So let's try and get into that a bit, because that's the question I've been trying to figure out. Defcons, I've been looking into Defcons, and at the moment, my model, so if I was to wildcard right now, I probably wouldn't, I'd wildcard in 6, but if I was to wildcard right now, the next time I'm going to wildcard is 32. So if I look at like game weeks 4 to 31, this is what my model comes up with. This is the people who are like most likely to play. And basically you got Salah's predicted the most points, Haaland second, but then I've got Lacroix, Tarkowski, Bruno, Senesi, Cole Palmer, Van Dijk, like are all right up there. These are the people that everyone's talking about already. And now the thing about this is like, the thing about when you see people talk about things like this is you don't know how that number's been made. And one of the problems I'm having as well is that the more complicated my model gets, the less trust I have in it, because I can't remember the maths. It takes me a while to go back and actually double check that number, every single stage of it. When the model's simple, I can just go back and check each stage of the maths and be like, yeah, it's all works, it's right. But as it gets more complicated, it's I lose trust in it. And so, but then trying to go back through all the stages is quite overwhelming. It's like it's tricky to do. But that's what it's saying at the moment. And it's interesting. So there are a lot of defenders up there. They're definitely so the idea of like 4-5 at the back. Basically, I'm starting to come around to it now a little bit at the moment. This data is not. It's not skewed from. It's only got 25% of the first 3 game weeks. Has a weighting of 25%. 75% of it is still last season's data, so it's not too skewed. I don't think so. Or at least that's how I've got it at the moment. And the Defcons, basically, I've been looking into the Defcons. So this is where I've been geeking out. Actually, do I want to open? Let me open one more. One sec. So I've gone into Transfer Market, and I've kind of copied and pasted all of their squad sheets like this, where you say each squad per position. I've been trying to kind of make something like this where I can kind of see how many players in each position there are, to try and get a sense of the how nailed a player is in their position, how much competition there is in each position. But then I've also gone on to Defcon now, and this little chart here is the number of CBITs on average that centre-backs are having against Bournemouth. So every time a centre-back plays Bournemouth, this is the average amount of CBITs they're having so far this season. And this is the left-backs, this is right-backs, that's just full-backs, that's the average of those two. Defensive midfielders, each position, because I've now got this each player is recorded in the model with their own position, specific position now. So I can do this. The problem is it's still really unclear. So it's not really much of a pattern. So centre backs against Bournemouth. I mean, if I can kind of show this. So Bournemouth here, centre backs. It's basically Kanate and Van Dijk. Van Dijk got lows, like a 21. It's Toti Gomez and Agbadou when Wolves played, and then Romero and Van der Ven. That's all their C-bits, defensive contributions per 90. And that's the average. And so that's how it's working it out. So at the moment, after 3 game weeks, centre-backs versus Bournemouth are cooking up a lot of DCs. Aston Villa next, which is surprising if they didn't create much XG, but the centre-backs are doing well. Liverpool, Sunderland. I don't know who you would expect to be up here. If you look at the defensive midfielders, top of the pops is Fulham by miles. So DMs versus Fulham. I don't know if that means there's something tactical about Fulham where they're not even getting to the final third because the DMs against them are just kind of cutting it all out. I mean, what is that? Fulham DM. It's Baleba and Matt Swifer is actually playing right back, but he's listed as a defensive midfielder, so it could be that. See, there's not enough numbers here. The data is still quite early on. You've got Casemiro and Caicedo. Caicedo got 23 against him as well. So, I mean, there might be something there. But anyway, I've just started looking at that. It's still 3 game weeks data is not enough. And then I've converted this into I've used this and last season's data to convert into a prediction of where players are going to get DEFCONs from. So if they're more or less likely to get DEFCON. I don't know, Lacroix is here. He's about to play Sunderland and then West Ham. Now, Sunderland apparently are a team, are they? Oh, no, well, Sunderland are, for centre-backs this season, are not doing... They're quite good for centre-backs this season so far. Sunderland are actually this season are quite good, but last season the promoted teams were bad for centre-backs. I think I use this data here. Last season the promoted teams were all quite bad for centre-backs, which is what you'd expect. A promoted team, they're not going to attack much. They're not going to have much possession. So the Crystal Palace probably will have most of the possession. So Lacroix probably won't be doing that much defending. That's the idea. Now, maybe not, because so far Sunderland are actually quite high. And I think if you look at the XG... Sunderland quite low for XG. So I think they were high for XGA. Good defence. But yeah, so... anyway, this is the problem. It's all very muddy. But at the moment, so Lacroix is probably not predicted that many DEFCONs in that game, and West Ham is about an average fixture. And I've run that through. So, Lacroix, as another example, is here. His numbers at the moment are, he was about 53% DEFCON rate last season. So he got DEFCONs in 53% of his games, 54%. So far this season's, he's getting them at I've got it as a 79.45 rate because it's converting his C-bits into a prediction of what he will get with DEFCON. So it's using the C-bits first, and then converting that rather than just saying he's 100%, which I think is probably a better way to do it, more accurate. That's why I'm doing it. And then it's an average 75% of that, 25% of this. It gets so confusing. But anyway, so that's his number he's got at the moment, Lacroix, 1.23. So that's like about 60%. It's the average, middle of those two of 2 points. So he's getting about 1.23 added to his score. I hope people are following. 1.23 added to his score. And then, you look at game week 4, Lacroix is there. The DC is it's a minus 14 games. So he's only predicted to get, where is it? He's only predicted to get, I've lost him. One sec. Lacroix, Sunderland, 1.06 points for that game. Not his normal 1.2 something, 1.06. Anyway, that's how it's worked out. And it's the same with all the defenders. That's how it's working out. And if you go from game weeks 4 to 31, you just look at the big long view. Then Lacroix, Tarkowski, Bruno, Senesi. These are the guys that are all appearing high. I think you probably ignore that one there. These are all the players who are appearing quite highly. And so basically, long story short, it's making me think, well, maybe these are the guys then. Lacroix, Tarkowski. I mean, what's wrong with the data there? Like, what mistake have I made? It's coming out. That's how it's coming out. If you look on a smaller view, maybe it might be a little bit easier to 4, 5, and 6. Let's have a little free game week view. Pardon me. Might be easier to see, but they're still up there. Lacroix, Tarkowski, Bruno's gone down a bit. Van Dijk and Senesi are the ones that are just appearing the highest. I guess they would if there's something fundamental in my model that likes him to begin with. Bruno's gone down a bit. I guess he's playing Man City and Chelsea in the next 2. So tricky fixtures, and it rates him as not very good, not great for DEFCONs in those 2. Tarkowski is very good for DEFCONs, and so is Palmer, but he's not going to get many anyway. But the next 3 for Tarkowski is apparently very good for DEFCONs: Aston Villa, Liverpool, and West Ham. And so if we look at that, Aston Villa and Liverpool, this season, they're both very high. West Ham is low, but Aston Villa and Liverpool are high for centre-backs. And then last season, Aston Villa and Liverpool were fairly high as well. Liverpool were, particularly. So he's getting, so it's probably a good fixture for Tarkowski, which again is what you'd kind of expect, because particularly with Liverpool attacking a lot. So that's what I'm thinking about with the DEFCON thing. So maybe it is. Maybe we should start to consider, because you look at this and like, go back to 31 again. Game weeks 4 to 31. You look at that. This is how many points is predicted in that period. And so, Salah and Haaland are still up there, although they cost a lot. So there's a question of whether to have them or not. But these guys are like 5 mil, 5.5. Bruno's affordable at 9. Senesi, 4.5. You're probably going to go without one of these premiums. And then Van Dijk is relatively cheap. So if you were to go with 5 at the back then instead, I'm going to pause this quick, 1 sec. I just wanted to show this basically. So this is like an idea of like, if I was to go with 5 at the back, let's say Senesi, Van Dijk, Tarkowski, Lacroix, and maybe Munoz. Something like this. What it means is that going forward, I'm going to have 3 attackers on my bench, is what it means. That's the really strange feeling of having 3 attackers on your bench. And so, I kind of built this team. It's got Josh King, Cullen, and Xhaka there as probably the ones that would be on my bench. But then there's this question of like, well, maybe you could play around with rotation on the bench as well. Hasn't got Salah here. It's got Haaland instead. But because I think originally when I did this, I tried to get some like 6.5s. I think I got rid of Isaac and went down to like a João Pedro and started upgrading some of these guys. But then it's like, these are your bench players. They're not going to be playing that often unless you want to rotate them. So there could be some interesting ideas you can do with the rotation and actually deliberately have a strong bench, especially if you're considering bench boost. You can actually have a strong bench, because there's that idea in FPL sometimes where you can either have like a 5 mil midfielder and a 10 mil midfielder and only ever play the 10 mil and just bench the 5 mil every game, or you can have 2 7.5 7.5 mil midfielders and rotate them. And sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes with models, that actually works out as like more EV to rotate them. Just in, if you can find a good rotation. And some people don't like to do that, particularly with goalkeepers. Maybe it's too risky with goalkeepers, but if you want to do a bench boost and you're going to start playing, maybe it works better with attackers. Because if you've got 5 at the back, and this is going to be the new meta, and you're going to have 3 attackers on your bench, maybe that is the play to start actually playing with rotation a lot more with your attackers. Because that is a part of the game that I sometimes thought about at the start of the season. I was thinking maybe I could just have a nailed team of like 8 or 9 of my players will just be set and forget, and then I'll just use my transfers just for 1 or 2 picks, and I'll just chase the easy fixtures. I'll just target the promoted teams and this kind of thing, and just use my transfers for them, and then everybody else is just set and forget. Because there's all this DEFCON stuff, you can just have centre backs and DMs, and all these players can just be locked. You don't need to mess around with them anyway. So that's kind of how it would look and how it would feel. But you'd never have a defender on your bench. You'd be playing 5 in, 5 at the back every game. Is that what we're talking about? I don't know. I kind of like the idea of having 4 at the back and then just having that one option to rotate one defender maybe. And there's also that idea I thought of where when you play 3 at the back, you can have 2 4.0 players on your bench, whereas the cheapest forwards and midfielders are 4.5 or maybe 4.4 now. So your bench is going to be more expensive. So that's more money on your bench every game week, which is probably going to relate to points. And so, you're going to have less points in your team. So that might, I don't know for sure how that would affect it, but it feels like that's a bit of a disadvantage, that. So DEFCONs, and so in structure, I am starting to come around to this idea though of having 5 at the back. But then it's like, I don't know how quickly, I almost feel like I want a wild card now then, just to get it in, because I want to get the benefit before everybody else suddenly realises that maybe that is the play. Or is it? This is the thing. I don't know. This is why I'm all lost in the weeds, because I don't know how much I trust these numbers at the moment, and it's like I haven't fully thought it all the way through. But yeah, that's where I'm leaning. What else? Salah and Haaland. Yeah, I don't know. Salah. The rest of the structures. So Salah and Haaland. I think a lot of people are kind of saying, well, you got to have Salah for this game here, Burnley and Everton, and then you get a Haaland for here. Game week 13, you want both of them for this run. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure I fully trust Salah at the moment. And somebody on Twitter, I think his name's FPL Leo, something like that, he just mentioned that Salah's record against Burnley is actually, he's only had 1 goal in the last 10 games against Burnley. Not sure how much stock to put in that either, but that's not the best record. And 10 games is like a fairly fair sample size. 2 assists, 1 goal, and it was all the way back there in like 2017-18. He hasn't scored since then. In the other 9 games, he hasn't scored. Liverpool have always won pretty much, apart from once. But yeah, he's been quiet against Burnley. But do we just forget that? Is that nothing? Don't know. So Salah is somebody I am so again, going back to the vibes thing as well, like I'm not on the Salah vibes. I'm not feeling it. His XGI is like quite rubbish at the moment as well, isn't it? I think I can't find it, but it's like 0.27 or something like that. It's not very good. Let me find it. So yeah, let's find it quick. Salah is there, 0.27 XGI for the season so far. Has he had a penalty? Don't think he has. Or has he? No, I don't think he has. Can't remember. So 0.27. Yeah, I don't know about Salah. But yeah, I may just go for him though, because I don't know, it kind of feels like I've not got a better idea at the moment. It just kind of just about fits. But because I was kind of waiting for Ekitike or Isaac or something like that to go for somebody else. And I actually really fancy Haaland against Man United. That's the one I really fancy. But then Haaland plays Arsenal, so I think I'll probably just go for Salah. but we shall see. What else did I want to say? One sec. I just wanted to have a quick talk about chip strategy again. Free hit. I'm still waiting for free hit because if there's a blank game week in game week 17, which there might be, having tough fixtures is better than no fixtures. A lot of people are looking at free hits and saying, well, my players have got tough fixtures in this one. I'm going to flip it and get some people who've got some good fixtures. But if you get a blank, then that means there's a possibility that, several of your players might have no fixture at all. And I'd rather have a team that has, if my players have got tough fixtures, at least they're going to play. At least they might get points. There's still a chance of getting points. But if half my team have got no fixture at all, I'd much rather free hit in that game week, because then that's much more of a swing. Because there's every chance, even if you do a free hit in a game where your team have got tough fixtures and you switch to somebody who's got good fixtures, there's still a chance that your original team might outscore your free hit team anyway. Whereas there's almost no chance, or much less chance, if you do it in a blank. So I'm still waiting for the possibility of blank 17. And if it doesn't happen, then I'll just free hit like everybody else in one of these other game weeks. And just a quick update on the double game week 16 possibilities. So far, it seems to be going well. So Crystal Palace have qualified. They're in the EFL. They've qualified for the Europa Conference League, so they're in it. So that game is definitely going ahead now. And they've also been drawn against Millwall. And they're going to be playing next Tuesday, I think. So that's coming soon. They've got Millwall at home. So that's quite a good fixture for them. So we really want them to win. If they lose, then this whole thing's over. But if they win that, then they've just got to win one more game. And we're in. A lot of the Premier League teams have got non-Premier League opposition. So that's probably a good thing, I think. We want as many Premier League teams as possible so that it much more likely to cause a clash. So that's good. And another thing I realised as well is that if Crystal Palace if they get drawn in the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup against another Premier League team, and that Premier League team is a team that's in Europe, that's what's likely to cause a double game week in 16. But it's not just the teams that are in Europe. It's also a couple of other teams. It's teams that are playing teams in Europe. So Wolves are another one, because Wolves are playing Arsenal. So if Crystal Palace get drawn against Wolves, even though Wolves aren't in Europe, because they're... Actually, is it Wolves? Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. I think it might be Everton, actually, game week 17. I think it's Everton. So if it's Everton, if Crystal Palace get drawn against Everton and that game has to become a blank, then Arsenal are drawn into it, because that's Arsenal versus Everton there. So you still might get a double. Man United and West Ham were two of the other teams, I think. No, Man United and somebody else, I can't remember. But Man United got knocked out, obviously. Bournemouth have been knocked out. They weren't one. Fulham, I think Fulham were one. Fulham are playing Nottingham Forest, so Fulham are a team that you want them to get through as well, because if Crystal Palace get drawn against Fulham, then that could potentially cause a double in 16 as well. I think it was West Ham. Yeah, West Ham were playing Man City, but West Ham have been knocked out, I think, haven't they? Yeah. So, yeah, those two, West Ham and Man United going out is bad for double game week 16 chances. But the fact that Everton and Fulham are still in means that you've got the 8 European teams and you've got Everton and Fulham as well. So there's actually quite a big chance that if Crystal Palace get to the EFL quarterfinals, there's quite a good chance that they'll get drawn against somebody that will be involved in this clash that will cause a double game week 16. Yeah. I think I'm going to leave it there. Bit of a waffly video, this one. What else did I want to say? I don't think I've got anything massively to say. I think I will leave it there. Yeah, okay, I'll leave it there. All right, thanks for listening. See you later. Bye-bye.